When a millionaire walked into the kitchen, he discovered a surprising moment that changed everything. Oliver Hayes stepped into the Hayes table, the diner that had once pulsed with the laughter and warmth of family gatherings. Now, the familiar aromas of frying bacon and fresh bread felt oddly suffocating. He wasn't ready for this nostalgia, the cringe-inducing memories that echoed his simplistic past in stark contrast to his polished, success-driven present. Even as he closed the door, the bell tinkled with an unwanted resonance, a reminder of all he had sacrificed for power and fortune. A self-made tech mogul, Oliver's million-dollar deals and Silicon Valley triumphs felt like nothing more than hollow victories here. His brother, Ethan, stood behind the counter, jaw clenched as he flipped pancakes. Overwhelmed by a rising tide of unease, Oliver's mind raced. The diner represented home, yet it was pulling him into a vortex of unresolved emotions. What was he even doing here? Selling the diner felt like an option marketed to a chain, wiped the slate clean. The thought skated through his mind, practical yet cruel. He looked at Ethan's focused expression, so different from his own, so burdened by devotion where Oliver felt only obligation. "I can't believe you came back for this," Ethan said, not looking up from the grill. "What do you mean?" "It's our mom's legacy." Oliver shot back, the words tumbling out too quickly, laced with defensiveness. Beneath his tone simmered the clash of years spent building a life far removed from this place, a life that demanded abandonment of sentiment in exchange for success. Ethan's eyes narrowed, frustration etched on his face. "You think it's just a legacy?" "It's a way of life, Oliver. Mom fought to keep this diner alive, pouring everything she had into it. You wouldn't know that undercurrent of resentment blossomed. I made choices, Ethan. I did what I had to do." "Choices? You mean running away? Leaving me to fight for it alone? Just like you always have." Ethan's voice cracked, raw with frustration. Oliver's breath came in short bursts. Choices. The weight of that word pressed against his chest like an iron shroud. He could almost hear their mother's laughter, feel withering stares of townsfolk judging him for seeking fortune over family. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The air grew heavier as Ethan spoke of their mother, detailing her late nights and early mornings, the sacrifices that felt like bricks in the pit of Oliver's stomach. How could he have forgotten? How could he have deluded himself into believing success was worth more than this? A memory of their mother's flour-dusted hands kneading dough forced its way into the forefront of his mind. The comfort she offered contrasted with the ruthless world he embraced, shaking him from within. He felt trapped, suspended between his ambitions and these roots he hadn't truly severed. What was he really achieving? The image of a shiny, soulless restaurant chain offering cold efficiency flashed through his mind, a tempting prospect against Ethan's passionate dedication. Just as the air thickened with unspoken anguish, the front door swung open, and in walked someone familiar, someone who stirred echoes of hope and heartache alike. There, framed against the diner's fading decor, was their mother's former mentor, eyes filled with stories that cut deep. How did he fit into this narrative? Was he the key Oliver desperately needed, or would he only add fuel to the fire? The kitchen held secrets, memories, and choices its very breath teetered on the brink of their future. Oliver was left standing in a crucible of emotion, unresolved feelings churning violently within him. Would he choose the warmth of family, or plunge forward in the pursuit of a success that might prove to be an empty shell? Oliver's gaze fixed on the old mentor as he entered, the man embodying a history Oliver struggled to reconcile with his present. Robert Taylor, their mother's guiding star in the world of cuisine, had been the spark behind the Hayes table's many successes. Yet, at that moment, he represented a past Oliver had largely abandoned. The years Oliver spent climbing the corporate ladder, chasing innovation and wealth, had distanced him from everything he once cherished. "Oliver," Robert said, his voice smooth yet laced with an underlying resolve. "Interesting to see you here after all this time. I didn't expect your return." The statement felt accusatory. The weight of Oliver's own guilt pressed against him like a heavy cloak. "Just visiting," he managed, though the words hung in the air, tainted by the unacknowledged truth that he was searching for something: clarity, perhaps, or redemption. Ethan shifted uncomfortably between them, and Oliver could sense his brother's apprehension. It was palpable, like static electricity before a storm. What would Robert say? Would he, too, lay bare the consequences of Oliver's ambition? "You know, your mother once told me, this diner is not just a place, it's a love letter to the community," Robert shared, stirring the silence. "I think she believed that what you create comes from heart and soul. The things you've achieved in your industry are commendable, but what about here? What do you think she would want for the Hayes table?" With each word, Oliver felt his defenses waver. Robert's reminder pierced through the facade of success he had built, and Oliver grappled with the discomfort of facing his own choices. Could he bring himself to unpack the emotional baggage he had lugged along for years? "Look, Robert, I'm not here to have a sentimental lesson," Oliver replied more harshly than intended. He could feel his pulse quickening as if he stood before a judge. "I've built something that provides jobs and innovation, and that matters." "I know that," Robert countered calmly, unfazed by Oliver's retort. "But at what cost? You traded your heart for profits. Sometimes we need to reassess what truly drives us. Have you lost touch with the values you were brought up with?" It was as if the floor had opened beneath him. Formidable doubts cast shadows on the pillars of his achievements. I had to grow up," Oliver stumbled, grappling with the uncertainty of his narrative. "And now you're back, standing before your family's legacy. What do you want to do? Sell this place? Or learn what it means to really invest in something?" Ethan remained silent, watching the exchange. Oliver felt his brother's disappointment, the unspoken plea for understanding and connection. He realized that in the pursuit of a different definition of success, he had neglected the very essence of who he was, of where he came from. As the weight of Robert's words seeped in, a flicker ignited within him. Could he pivot? Could he embrace vulnerability rather than hide behind a veneer of triumph? "I can't just walk away," Oliver admitted, his voice a mere whisper, yet tinged with a newfound determination. "I don't want to sell it. He hesitated, feeling a swell of uncertainty. "I want to make it thrive, but I don't just know how. I'm afraid." Robert's eyes softened, a mentor once more. "Fear can be a catalyst for growth, Oliver. Embrace it. Let it drive you here, not away. Perhaps it's time to stop defining yourself by what you have and start exploring who you are again." Feeling a mix of disbelief and hope, Oliver looked around the diner. It was more than just wood and bricks, it was a treasure chest of legacy. Could he channel the passion Ethan had for this place and forge a future that integrated both heart and ambition? He wasn't sure, but the concept of trying was an exhilarating start. As a new realization settled in, Oliver's focus shifted to Ethan, who wore an expression blending skepticism and yearning. "I need to help you with this," he murmured, though the journey forward was uncertain, but Oliver's heart raced with the awareness that maybe it was time to rediscover the hero and the legacy buried within him. The real challenge lay ahead, and with it came the pivotal question: what was he truly meant to create? Just as he prepared to voice his commitment, the diner door swung open again, this time bringing in a group of fans from his tech empire. Whispers of admiration floated through the air like feathers. Their presence was a stark reminder of the dual life he had lived, a sharp juxtaposition against the intimacy of the diner. The moment had arrived to confront not only the expectations others placed upon him but also the ones he had set for himself. It threatened to tear apart the foundation he had built. With tension mounting and choices looming, Oliver stood at a precipice, ready to take a leap of faith. But was the next chapter one of family, or would personal ambition pull him back into the world he thought he wanted? The air thickened with anticipation as Oliver tried to grapple with the unexpected split in his life. He turned from his brother, turning inward to process the conflicting tides of his identity. The optimism that had just begun to bloom in him mingled with the cold reality of the presence of his former life, the carefully constructed world of tech innovation that now felt alien in this diner filled with warmth, heart, and heritage. Oliver's stomach nodded as he watched familiar faces, people who connected each success he had known in the tech industry to an insatiable ambition that carved him from the fabric of this familial legacy. Their admiration ignited a deeper unease. It was a reminder of how far removed he had become from the essence of the trade he had once adored. How could I have let it come to this? He questioned silently. Oliver, you all right? Ethan's voice pulled him back to the present. It was concerned but edged with impatience, mirroring the turmoil in Oliver's mind. Yeah, just processing, he replied, feigning a calm that felt increasingly tenuous. How could he reassure Ethan when he wrestled with insecurities of his own? You want me to handle this? Ethan nodded toward the newly arrived guests, uncertainty hanging in the air like a newly opened bottle of wine. You could just go do your thing, you know, with work or whatever. Cringe gripped Oliver as the thought of retreating flickered in his mind, tempting him with the safety of the life he had come from. But the inner dialogue of self-doubt clashed with the burgeoning desire to reclaim the man he used to be. The diner pulsed with a rhythm that demanded authenticity. It beckoned him to be more than just a shell of his success. Wait, maybe I should, Oliver started, surprising even himself. No, I need to do this. Let us see if I still remember how to work a kitchen. The transition was not merely physical, it was mental. Stepping behind the counter, the familiar clattering of pans and the magnetic scent of spices enveloped him. What had once been second nature felt invigorating yet strangely daunting. A heavy bag of lost years was beginning to spill open, mixing nostalgia with the harsh scent of reality. As he donned an apron, Oliver felt the weight of Robert's words return. This space demanded not only culinary skill but also an understanding of emotional nuances, the underlying love that infused each dish with soul. There, in the kitchen, surrounded by the gleaming steel and vibrant ingredients, he finally acknowledged that he needed to confront not just the expectations of others, but the expectations he placed on himself, the ones he had distanced himself from, tragic commitments that now felt suffocating yet liberating to confront. As he moved with hesitant yet increasingly assured confidence, flavors began to resonate in his mind. He fell back on the unrefined, instinctual knowledge buried beneath years of corporate lingo and branding strategies. Each chop of a vegetable sent rivulets of passion pulsing through him, reigniting flames of past dreams he thought extinguished. But just as the moment appeared to crystallize into clarity, a crash behind him jarred Oliver back into the present. He turned to see one of the young fans, whom he recognized as a budding chef, slip. The broken plate lay shattered like pieces of his fragmented journey. Panic flared in his chest, throwing him into action. What are you doing? He knelt beside them, watching their face flush with embarrassment. It happens. Let us clean this up. But even as he soothed the young chef, Oliver couldn't help but wonder, could he risk embracing vulnerability in this space, blending the multifaceted identities he carried: tech mogul, brother, son, and chef in training? Thanks, Oliver. You were amazing out there, Ethan offered, a hint of pride shining in his eyes. The callousness of his previous struggles began to soften. He was being validated through the eyes of his brother in this tender moment, a stark contrast to his anxieties. With adrenaline coursing through him from both the incident and the reclamation of his passion, Oliver felt as though he were at the brink of a transformative realization. Perhaps he could cultivate success again, but not via the skyscrapers he once coveted, forged instead in the heart of the Hayes table. As the comforting aromas enveloped him further, he felt the magic of the diner seep into his core. He wondered if he was on the right track or whether this was just a fleeting illusion. The juxtaposition of old ambitions and new aspirations left an unsettling tension, a prompt question festering beneath the surface: how would he integrate both worlds harmoniously, without losing himself again? the door swung discreetly, but Oliver's focus remained fixed on his burgeoning aspirations. The past may have been painful, but it was now a backdrop to his evolving story. Determined to let heart lead the way, he readied himself for whatever uncertainty loomed ahead, but as a silhouette appeared in the doorway, casting a shadow over his moment of hope, his pulse quickened. Was it a figure from corporate America, a dealmaker, an investor, a rival? Or perhaps someone from his past, someone who might challenge the growth he was beginning to form? Once more, Oliver stood at the edge, teetering between two worlds, ready to uncover what lay in this chapter or perhaps what he would have to confront from both past and future. Oliver's breath hitched as the figure stepped fully into the diner. The familiar profile of a tall, impeccably dressed man emerged from the shadows, with honed features that screamed both authority and ambition. It was Miles Thorne, the one person whose presence could twist his stomach into knots, an investor who had once offered Oliver the opportunity of a lifetime, a tantalizing chance to elevate his career to unimaginable heights. Now, as their eyes locked, the past rushed back with the force of a tidal wave. "Oliver," Miles said, his tone smooth yet laced with an unexpected warmth. "I didn't think I'd find you here. You've surprised me." A bittersweetness washed over Oliver. The pull of nostalgia clawed at him, both a recollection of dreams and the heavy realization that those dreams had morphed into shadows of pressures he had wanted to escape. The air thickened with tension as various patrons turned slightly to observe the exchange, their interest palpable. "Just trying to find my way back," Oliver replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. The sharp question surged within: was he truly finding his path, or simply wandering the remnants of a past self he had tried so hard to abandon? "We could use someone like you," Miles pressed on, his eyes glinting with the kind of ambition that once excited Oliver, a thrill now replaced with hesitation. A sleek confidence returned to Miles' voice. "I have a few new projects in mind. Your tech brilliance plus my investment could revolutionize the industry. You'd be a fool not to consider it." The prospect was tantalizing, the allure of comfort and recognition whispered seductive promises. For years, he had chased after such opportunities, longing for validation in boardrooms rather than kitchens. But here, standing amidst the clatter of pots and the warm scent of home-cooked meals, the vision of that life felt hollow. "Thank you, but Oliver faltered, searching for the words. "I'm in a different space right now." Miles regarded him with a mix of incredulity and calculation. "Is this really where you see yourself, cooking in a diner?" The question came with an edge, an unspoken challenge that struck like a lightning bolt. Oliver felt his heart race, suddenly aware of the cacophony of his surroundings. Conversations faded out, and for a brief moment, it was only him standing there, feeling the weight of his decisions. The importance of self-definition pulsed in his chest like a metronome. "Yes," he finally said, with a firmness surprising even to him. "I am here because I want to reconnect with what matters. This place is where I feel alive." Miles seemed to assess the impact of Oliver's words, his lips pressing together as if weighing rent decisions in the air. Oliver could almost see the calculations flickering behind those piercing blue eyes, likely perceiving his commitment to a new life as either a deficit or a fascinating gamble worth pursuing. Just as the tension escalated, Ethan stepped forward, protective and ready to defend his brother's newfound path. "We're building something authentic here, Miles. Not just tech for tech's sake." His gaze flicked to Oliver, affirming their shared dedication to a legacy steeped in warmth rather than cold digits. Across the counter, Oliver felt renewed determination surge through him, buoyed by this unexpected support. Could it be that the fleeting doubts he carried could be transformed into a steadfast sense of purpose? The notion stirred within him, showcasing the potential he had overlooked amid a lifetime of ambition. "Authenticity is key," Oliver added, his voice stronger now, openly challenging Miles' proficiency with a newfound resolve. The implications of their interaction, the chance to rise, the risk of slumping back into old roles, loomed like large shadows across his reality. As Miles opened his mouth to respond, the explosive sound of clanging pots and a sudden frenzy erupted around them. The rhythm of the diner felt like a heartbeat, propelling Oliver standing further from the barren plains of corporate ambition that he once called home. As diners looked on, captivated by the unfolding scene, Oliver realized the stakes had dramatically shifted. In that moment, something visceral cemented within him, a conscious shift not just to claim his new identity but to stand firm amidst challenges from familiar adversaries. It wasn't merely about rejection of the past, it was about embracing the audacity to shape his future, yet, even as he found his footing, uncertainty lingered in the corners. Could he truly balance his two worlds? The seductive pull of the corporate machine or a grounded existence steeped in community and culinary passion? Before he could contemplate further, Miles shot one last penetrating look across the counter, a silent promise to return. The calculated game had shifted onto a new playing field, and with it came the uncomfortable question: how far was Oliver willing to go to protect this emerging identity? As the tumult died down, Oliver was left in the thick of realization. He now faced a decision that could either fuse or fracture the worlds he straddled. The door swung gently, the shadow of past ambitions still lingering in the air, and with it came the nagging query that continued to pulse at the back of his mind: what would it take to triumph in both realms without sacrificing the core of who he was? Oliver stood at the counter, heart racing as the buzz of the diner enveloped him. He was aware of the faces around him, some familiar, some strangers, all seemingly waiting for the fallout of his confrontation with Miles. A nervous energy crackled in the air, but beneath it, a growing clarity took root in his mind. Today was not just about a choice, it was about redefining himself in a way that felt genuine and right. Ethan leaned against the counter, his expression one of quiet resolve. "You did good, Ollie. You found your voice." The warmth in his brother's words ignited a flicker of confidence within Oliver that he had almost forgotten. "I need to make sure this isn't just a fleeting moment," Oliver admitted, wiping his hands on his apron. The rhythm of the diner, punctuated by orders being called and the clattering of utensils, felt comforting but also chaotic. In that chaos, clarity emerged. What if it gets harder? He wondered aloud, the doubt creeping back in. With Miles around, he's not just going to let go that easily. "Then you stand your ground," Ethan said, his eyes unwavering. "This place, what we're building here, it matters. You're not just a tech genius, you're an artist here too." The reality struck Oliver as if he were seeing the diner for the first time. The laughter of patrons, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the camaraderie between the staff, these were the elements of a life well lived. Not every decision needed to be an upward trajectory measured by monetary gains or prestige. Maybe success could be defined differently, maybe it could be about crafting something genuine, yet, the specter of Miles loomed large in his mind. Oliver had once chased the adrenaline of big projects and lofty ambitions, hooked on the thrill of prospective deals. He recalled the excitement, the late nights fueled by ambition, but now that thrill seemed like a distant memory, overshadowed by the burdens it had brought. Was Miles right, pushing Oliver to reevaluate what he found fulfilling, or was he simply a thorn reminding Oliver of a life he had consciously chosen to leave behind? In the small kitchen, Oliver began to focus. He grabbed a knife and a fresh tomato, letting the rhythm of slicing ground him. With each cut, his thoughts crystallized further. This was empowerment, a deliberate act of creation. No one could force his hand here. He had crafted dishes from passion, each flavor a testament to his ability to draw out satisfaction from simple ingredients. "Maybe I could create a special menu inspired by the community," he mused aloud, more to himself than to Ethan. The idea felt fresh, invigorating. Change the narrative around what we offer, something meaningful and authentic. As he worked through the preparation, each step became an affirmation of his choice. He had no desire to return to the corporate battlefield, yet he knew that he didn't want to remain stagnant either. He could blend the two worlds, innovation with genuine passion, and perhaps that would be the path forward. "Here," he said, sliding a beautifully plated dish over to Ethan, who eyed it with a mix of admiration and teasing seriousness. "The new Renaissance plate. Thoughts? Creativity flourishing in the kitchen next to the diner hustle?" Ethan grinned. "You're on your way, brother. Just don't forget, sometimes being vulnerable can be strength too." Oliver caught himself smiling. The vulnerability Ethan mentioned admitting his fears about Miles, about success wasn't weakness, it was authenticity. Each moment he invested in this diner helped him reclaim fragments of himself. However, that thought was tethered to an undeniable truth: Miles would return. The corporate world was not finished with him, and the magnetic pull of ambition could still tug at his core. Would Miles decide to leverage his expertise, a double-edged sword that could lead him back into the arms of comfortable chaos? As the sun began to dip, casting an orange glow through the diner windows, uncertainty coiled back into his thoughts. Could he hold firm against familiar urges and still reach for something greater while staying true to himself? The questions lingered, a challenge he needed to face. Just then, the door swung open again, the little bell tinkling cheerfully. The familiar face of Miles returned, this time with an air of intensity that hinted at business, a renewed engagement, thicker than before. The moment was palpable, the tension thick, charging the atmosphere with possibilities. Oliver's heart raced once more, caught between the path he yearned to carve and the one that Miles offered. With a deep breath, he faced Miles, ready for whatever was next. He had reclaimed his voice, but could he also assert his ground when the stakes rose? As the eyes of the diner shifted to the unfolding standoff, Oliver felt not just the weight of his past but the potential of his future weighing in the balance. Would this be the moment to define his next chapter, or would he find himself at the mercy of choices made by others? The door swung shut behind Miles, the jovial sound of the bell belied by the gravity of his presence. He walked towards Oliver with a purposeful stride, his eyes scanning the kitchen as if trying to assess the intensity of the atmosphere, the choices simmering beneath the surface. Oliver tightened his grip around the counter's edge, a physical reminder of his determination to stand firm. "You've improved the diner, I see," Miles began, his tone measured, which only heightened Oliver's apprehension. "This Renaissance plate not bad. You're blending flavors, quite literally." The words dripped with an undertone that made Oliver's stomach twist. Was this a compliment, or a veiled criticism? "I appreciate the feedback," Oliver replied, testing his own voice. It came out steadier than he felt, a small victory in a brewing storm. Miles leaned closer, a conspiratorial glint in his eye. "You know, Ollie, I've always believed you had the potential to do something extraordinary. Something that would require more than a diner's busy lunch rush. Why let yourself get bogged down here when you could dominate a market that's starving for creativity? Let us dream bigger, together." Oliver's heart raced at the suggestion. It was tempting, enticing even. The energy, the thrill of innovation blended with the business acumen he had buried in the corners of his mind. He could feel the pull towards those past ambitions, the siren call of success intertwined with the corporate chaos he had escaped. "Is this your way of trying to reel me back in?" Oliver questioned, feeling the weight of the challenge press against his resolve. "I've found something here that I didn't know I was looking for. This not some corporate ladder is where I want to be." Miles's expression shifted subtly, the challenge reframing itself as intrigue. "And yet, this moment feels fleeting. You could build something magnificent, elevate your culinary creations to a platform they deserve. You've got the skills. I'm offering you an opportunity, a conduit to a larger audience." "That audience isn't what I need," Oliver argued. His voice gained strength as he spoke, words pouring out with passion. "I want to connect with people through food in a meaningful way, not just as a product to sell. This diner is my heart. It's where I reclaim who I am. How do you expect me to step away from that?" Miles seemed to consider this, folding his arms and leaning back slightly. "So you'd risk stagnation for authenticity? Embrace a life confined to this little world over the possibility of transforming it?" "A life confined?" Oliver echoed, frustration bubbling. "Do you think creativity can only blossom in offices and boardrooms? That's where you want me, I can feel it." "Miles, with every dish I create, I push my boundaries. Each plate tells a story, and no amount of high stakes could replace that satisfaction." Silence settled between them, pregnant with Oliver's intensity and Miles's calculated demeanor. He pushed back successfully, but the anticipation of Miles's next move loomed ominously. Miles straightened, his demeanor shifting to something more serious. "Then let us collaborate, not as employer and employee but as partners. I need someone with your vision, someone who understands the pulse of the industry. I can help you scale this, broaden your audience without losing the integrity of your work." Oliver's mind raced, evaluating the offer. It wasn't simply a threat, it was a proposal clad in possibility. His instinct urged him to flee from Miles's corporate grasp, yet the desire to create something significant flickered seductively. Oliver's heart thudded audibly as he weighed his options: remain loyal to the diner, his home, or venture into uncharted territory with someone who knew the art of business. As every second ticked by, tension surged, demanding an immediate answer. "Think carefully about what I'm suggesting, Oliver. Opportunities like this don't come by often," Miles said, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. But Oliver faltered, the weight of his decision pressing down heavily. He needed to respond, to assert the newfound strength he had just begun to embrace, yet uncertainty clouded his vision. Would he dare to let himself imagine a fusion of authenticity and ambition? Or would he choose to stay in the sanctuary he had built, fearing the changes that might come with trust? Before he could find clarity, the door swung open again, shattering the tense silence as a group of regulars entered, oblivious to the charged exchange. They called out for the specials, their laughter filling the kitchen, contrasting starkly with the conflicting emotions raging inside him. Oliver glanced back at Miles, whose expression remained inscrutable. The moment felt fragile, precarious. Would this fleeting interaction define his future, or would he reclaim his narrative now? With a sharp breath, he made a choice that would ripple through his life, but was it the right one? Oliver's thoughts spun like the plates he served, nearly audible in the compartment of his mind. He could feel the warmth of the bustling diner, greasy grills, aromatic spices filling the air, laughter inviting intimacy, all the elements of his sanctuary. Yet, here was a proposition that sparkled with unknown potential, a chance to escape the boundaries he had set for himself. Discomfort settled like a heavy fog. He turned away from Miles, facing his customers, the regulars he had come to know intimately over countless meals shared. Their joy grounded him. He felt their presence, like a protective layer against the pull of ambition. Each greeting, each satisfied sigh at their meals, intensified his yearning for true connection, a connection he feared would be lost in the corporate shuffle of expansion. Could he really let go of this tangible, emotional labor for a nebulous vision of success? Miles's voice broke through his tumultuous thoughts. "Ollie, don't mistake this as abandoning your roots. Think of it as leveling up. You can reach even more people who are hungry for what you have to offer." Oliver shook his head slightly, refusing to muffle his voice. "But at what cost? The diner isn't just a business to me. It's personal, it carries meaning. Each dish has a story behind it, influenced by the people who walk through those doors. You can't just scale that." A flicker of frustration crossed Miles's face, and Oliver felt a surge of validation. He was standing firm. He had found his voice, the essence of who he was, reigniting a passion that had simmered quietly since his childhood. But the sensation was quickly met with a stinging reminder of his tenuous grip on reality. Fear submerged the confidence. What if staying meant stagnation? Would he look back in a few years, regretting his refusal to leap? With renewed determination, he began to look inward. The echoes of his past ambitions whispered in his mind. As a young chef, he dreamed of culinary championships, of creating bold flavors that danced on taste buds and sparked conversations, experiences that transcended the act of eating. But the reflection on what went wrong and the heaviness of wanting escape from that ambition stifled him. He squashed those memories, focusing instead on the vibrant hum of the diner, the rhythmic clatter of plates, and the warmth shared among the community. Slowly, a revelation dawned. What if he could fuse both worlds, the unyielding essence of his diner and the expansive opportunity Miles offered? Would it be possible to harness the allure of growth without losing sight of his passion? The notion felt liberating yet daunting. Let us say I considered it, he began, his voice steadier now, fueled by a dawning clarity. How would we ensure that the diner's heart isn't lost in the process? It's not just about making food, it's about the soul behind it. A new spark ignited in Miles's eyes as he leaned closer, a wheeling of possibilities unfolding. Partnerships that respect the foundation you've built, let us bring that authenticity to a wider audience. We can broaden your brand while keeping that essence intact. What if we could elevate without diluting? A flicker of hope pulled at his heart, yet Oliver remained cautious. The stakes felt monumental. Miles's smile was magnetic, yet Oliver sensed an undercurrent, a corporate edge lurking beneath the allure of that partnership. With the diner's atmosphere cloaked in false camaraderie, Oliver couldn't help but feel the weight of his denial surging back. The question hung thick in the air. He faced a tension that demanded action: either embrace the proposition that dangled before him like a ripe fruit, or firmly anchor himself in the comforting, familiar embrace of the diner. But as he prepared to engage with Miles, a new customer caught his eye: a well-dressed woman sitting alone, observing the commotion of the diner with sharp, discerning eyes. Was she a potential investor? Or merely a curious newcomer? Oliver's curiosity piqued, an unexpected thread weaving through his mounting tension. She leaned back against her chair. In her posture, he sensed a knowing that could not be ignored. What if this encounter sparked something beyond his imagination? With the future teetering on the edge of two paths, Oliver had no choice but to confront this moment, one that might unravel everything he thought he was certain of. A decision loomed just ahead, and Oliver felt the urgency coiling tighter. A resolution awaited him on the brink. But could he unravel the truth about what really mattered to him before it was too late? The sharp, metallic chime of the bell above the diner's door pulled Oliver from his contemplation. The woman's attention shifted, and he felt an inexplicable draw toward her, a magnetism that only deepened his conflict. Who was she? What role did she play in this pivotal moment? With deliberate breaths, Oliver calculated his next move. He could turn back to Miles and the escalating discussion of partnership, or he could engage with the stranger who seemed to carry an air of significance. Years of experience in the kitchen, of reading people and flavors, urged him toward the latter. He approached her table, heart racing but his demeanor steady, driven by a yearning for connection and the prospect of clarity. "Hi, I'm Oliver. Welcome to my diner. What brings you here today?" He was surprised by how genuine the words felt rolling off his tongue, as if each syllable was a stepping stone towards understanding not just another customer, but himself. She looked up, surprise flickering across her features before transforming into an inviting smile. "I heard you have the best comfort food in the city," she replied, her voice smooth and expressive. "Though I must say, your diner has a certain energy that's hard to resist." "Energy?" he echoed, intrigued. "It's the people. They're the heartbeat of this place." "Exactly." She nodded, her gaze piercing through him, unearthing layers he hadn't expected to expose. "You've created more than just a menu here. But how much longer can that last? What happens when the cycle of routine becomes unshakable?" Oliver felt the weight of her words as if they were a challenge, pushing against the boundaries of his comfort. His stomach twisted, and he struggled to respond as a sudden clarity enveloped him. "I've been thinking about this," he admitted, finding a sudden chill in the cafe's warmth. "About moving beyond what I know, but at what cost? I can't let go of the soul behind the food. What do you think?" She leaned in, interest painting her features with concern. "Let me ask you this. If everything remains just as it is, will you feel fulfilled? Or will you wake up one day, standing still, blinded by your own choices?" Her question struck deep, like a chef's knife slicing through pretense. He looked away momentarily, grappling with self-reflection. The very essence of his hesitation echoed in her remarks. He thought of the memories sealed within the diner's walls, the stories entwined with each recipe he devised. Yet, he felt the tremors of ambition whisper in his ear, reminding him of his buried dreams, the bold flavors and gastronomic prowess he aspired to wield. Was he so fearful of change that he risked stagnation? "I don't want to lose what I've built," he muttered, more a plea than a statement. "It would be like losing a piece of myself." "Change doesn't inherently mean loss," she countered. "It can mean growth. Have you ever considered the two can exist together? You can expand your diner's reach while keeping its heart intact." Oliver's mind raced. Could it really be that simple? A partnership that didn't compromise his essence? And if it doesn't work? He challenged, needing to anchor himself in some measure of caution. "What if the expansion dilutes everything I stand for?" "Then you'll face that moment, and you'll learn," she replied, her tone matter-of-fact. "What matters most is the choice you make now. Will you choose fear or possibility?" The dining ambience faded into a blur, leaving only their conversation ringing in his ears, demanding he awaken from his self-imposed slumber of safety. Taking a moment, Oliver felt trapped between the irresistible pull of his ambitions and his loyalty to the diner's legacy. Suddenly, the prospects felt like a double-edged sword. Did he have the capability to strike a balance? As he looked into her unwavering expression, realizing she saw beyond the surface, Oliver sensed the weight of his future hanging in the balance. Her next words could tip it all. "Are you ready for a new beginning?" Those words ignited a spark inside him, a tempest of uncertainty and hope. He had to decide, and fast. The diner's soul, his soul, was at stake. The next question loomed larger than ever, a burning desire caught at the edge of his lips. What would it mean to forge a path forward without sacrificing his heart? With urgency flooding his being, he pondered what course he would truly embrace. Just beyond that question, an answer trembled in the air, waiting for him to grasp it. But could he take that leap of faith before it slipped away? "Oliver," the woman said, breaking through the haze of his thoughts, "if you were to take that leap, what would that look like for you?" Her question struck him like a bolt of lightning. What did that future entail? The vision he had tucked away felt fuzzy, always obscured by doubts and fears. He had been so focused on preserving what he had built that he neglected to dream about what could be. "I don't know," he confessed, feeling exposed. "I've been so worried about maintaining my diner, my style, my identity. I never thought about expanding in a way that could enhance those elements." "Maybe it's time to allow yourself to imagine," she encouraged, her eyes encouraging fire in his thoughts. What if he expanded the menu? What if he could blend innovation with his traditional dishes? He could keep the diner's heart, the soul in every slice of pie, every pot of slow-cooked stew, while adding an unexpected flair. He envisioned a dish that combined his beloved comfort food with daring culinary twists, a representation of his journey and values. "All right," he began hesitantly, "maybe I could introduce a few new items. I could try seasonal specials, highlighting local farms, creating dishes that still stay true to what people love about this place." "But how do you know?" she pressed. "How do you know that it wouldn't detract from your legacy instead of adding to it?" He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her challenge. Legacy. It pulsated in his chest like the heartbeat of the diner itself. Wasn't his legacy rooted not just in stagnation but in the evolution of comfort? The idea of simply maintaining the status quo felt suffocating now. Maybe I need to embrace experimentation, gather feedback, and not be afraid of failure, he contemplated aloud. It's about adapting while honoring my roots. Each dish tells a story, and it doesn't have to end just because I'm trying something new. Oliver sensed potential blooming within him, an ember of hope igniting the dark corners of uncertainty. He could venture into unfamiliar territory while still nurturing the diner's essence. "Would you help me?" he asked her suddenly, the plea almost instinctual. "Your perspective is refreshing. You challenge me, and I want that." A smile crept across her lips, illuminating the moment. "Of course. But mere conversation is one thing. Taking the first step into the kitchen with renewed intent is another. What do I need to do?" he inquired, excitement intertwining with anxiety. Start by redefining your mission, not just for your diner but for yourself. What are you passionate about beyond the routine? What are those culinary dreams you tucked away? Bring them forward. As she spoke, Oliver's mind raced. The memories of his culinary school days swirled through his thoughts, learning flavors, playing with textures, that infectious exhilaration under culinary pressure. The joy had waned over time, eclipsed by the weight of expectations and routine. But now, the thought of reinvigorating his craft thrilled him. "Let us begin this week," he found himself saying, surprising both himself and the stranger across from him. "We'll brainstorm together. I'll test a few dishes and see how the regulars react." Her smile widened. "That's the spirit. Remember, whether you aim to expand or refine, never forget the essence of who you are as a chef. Listen to your intuition." As the conversation deepened, Oliver realized the path ahead was not merely about potential expansion, it was about rediscovery, understanding himself as an evolving chef and individual. The prospect of transformation invigorated him as he set his sights firmly on the evolving journey ahead. With each passing moment, his fears lessened. He had a chance to mold his vision, stoking the flames of creativity that had flickered so dimly for far too long. But a nagging concern lingered. While he was opening up to the possibility of change, could he manage the delicate balance required? What if the new venture no longer resonated with his core beliefs? Oliver sat up straighter, the questions swirling, the excitement merging with a healthy dose of trepidation. The diner wasn't just a business, it was his identity, and he needed to be sure. "Let us do this," he said, determination overpowering his apprehension. "I just hope it leads me to the right conclusion." "The time has come," she said softly, and as he felt the weight of her gaze, he knew he was at a precipice. Would he dare leap into this unknown culinary realm, transforming not only his diner but himself? That question burned brighter now as he shifted his focus to the future, and just then, the bell above the door chimed again, heralding a new arrival. Miles. The air thick with unspoken potential, Oliver braced himself. Their discussion was about to take a definitive turn. What would this confrontation reveal? As Miles stepped through the door once more, the tension in the diner was palpable. Oliver felt as if the ground beneath his feet had shifted, the path he was on no longer just a culinary journey but a crossroad of his identity. His heart raced, the moment demanded clarity. "Oliver," Miles said, his voice steady, challenging the uncertainty in the air. "I admire your passion for the diner. It's refreshing. But I can't help but wonder if you're truly ready for what's next. The culinary landscape is changing, and it requires bold decisions." With every word Miles spoke, Oliver felt the old familiar stirrings of ambition tug at him. Yet, they now felt muted against the rising conviction he had discovered in his conversations with the woman, whose name he still hadn't learned. That newfound fire propelled him forward, not as a mere reaction to Miles' crisp observations but as a step toward his evolving reality. "I am ready," Oliver declared firmly, surprising himself with the authority in his tone. "I've taken the time to truly reflect on what I want for myself and this diner, not just as a business but as a legacy of heart and soul. I plan to innovate while holding on to our traditions." "That's what I want to hear," Miles said, an edge of intrigue sparking in his gaze. "So, what's the plan? How do you wish to merge your past and the opportunities ahead?" The question hung heavily, yet Oliver did not falter. "Starting this week, I'm launching new specials. Each will reflect our community's tastes while showcasing my culinary evolution. It's not just about bringing people in, it's about creating connections, a story on every plate." Ethan appeared momentarily startled by Oliver's clarity and ambition, watching his brother with a mix of pride and awe. He stepped forward, resting a supportive hand on Oliver's shoulder, encouraging him without words. Miles regarded Oliver closely, weighing his sister's words against his own agenda. "You know, that's ambitious. But do you think it will be enough against challenges? I can help implement any tech innovations that align with your vision." "I need to stay grounded," Oliver countered, fueled by the bonds he was beginning to rebuild with those around him. The soul of this diner is interconnected with the community. I refuse to lose what makes it special for a quick return on investment or mere expansion. My decisions will embrace what I love. There was silence, a pause loaded with understanding and recognition. Oliver felt the beginnings of liberation, the shackles of former ambitions loosening their hold. He no longer felt boxed in by conflict between two worlds. He could create a singular experience where each echoed the strengths of the other. "I understand," Miles replied, the edge in his demeanor softening. "But be prepared for the challenges of blending those approaches. The culinary world is unpredictable." "I welcome unpredictability," Oliver asserted, his newfound confidence transforming the air around him. "But I'll stay true to my path and the essence of this diner." As if summoned by Oliver's declaration, the woman from earlier stepped forward, her presence adding a powerful dynamic. "Miles, it's clear Oliver wants to create something significant. Instead of pulling him back, perhaps you can support him in his journey. Imagine how influential this could be. What's your role in this?" Miles directed his penetrating gaze towards her, a hint of curiosity weaving around his challenge. "I'm simply a catalyst for potential," she replied brightly. "We both see the brilliance in what Oliver is creating. Collaboration doesn't have to equate to compromise." As the conversation evolved, Oliver stood as more than a cook. The tension between the corporate voice of Miles and the nurturing encouragement of the woman swirled around him like a vibrant tapestry. He could almost feel his vision coalescing, a call to action that harmonized with his values. The recognition that culinary artistry would thrive amidst heart and innovation filled his being with excitement. "I want to embrace this dynamic, create a community festival of flavors," Oliver said, envisioning his plans taking shape. "Highlight local growers, host workshops, and create dishes that channel our roots while exploring progressive flavor profiles." "You have something here," Miles admitted, and for the first time, there was no underlying ambition to reclaim Oliver. "An authentic narrative." "Exactly," Oliver's eyes sparkled with ambition. "I want to make my mark in the culinary world not through faceless corporatism but through real connections. I'm ready to put in the hard work." Though doubts would always flicker at the edges, he was ready to face them head-on. The realization that vulnerability could be a source of strength propelled him forward as he grasped the essence of what he truly sought, a layered culinary narrative alive with authenticity. "Then let's get to work," Miles finally said, his tone no longer laced with authority but rather as a collaborative partner. As Oliver prepared himself to step deeper into this journey, he knew the transformation was just beginning. The weight of fear began to lift, making room for possibility. He glanced at Ethan, sensing their connection redefined, and felt the burgeoning excitement once again. The bell above the diner door chimed, a fresh breeze infused with new beginnings fluttering through. With each ring, possibilities echoed louder, driving him to not only reclaim his identity but expand it into realms unimagined while ensuring the Hayes table remained a legacy of warmth woven into the fabric of his community. With solid confidence, Oliver smiled. He had arrived at a pivotal understanding. He wasn't just ready for the future, he was creating it with purpose. This was his moment, a decided reclamation of self, family, and culinary art where each plate would not only serve food but history, heart, and a deeper connection. As he stepped into the kitchen, the scents of spices, sizzling oil, and baking bread imbued him with a sense of belonging. This was the moment he had been dreaming of, and now he would achieve it. With clarity and conviction, Oliver Hayes was poised for extraordinary growth, anchored in his roots yet reaching for the stars above. He smiled as he let creativity flow, finally embracing the full scope of what he was capable of. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to show your support.